Hello, everybody. It's the Pearlo Wisdom Show, and you're listening to my NHL Pearls of Wisdom with the GOAT, off the wall hockey. We haven't seen you in a long time, my friend. It's
Yeah,
busy
it's been
doing
a while.
playoff stuff and all that kind of stuff. So that which was awesome. You did awesome job on those play by plays like usual.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was great stuff, man. Anyways, now we're into silly season, as they like to
Yep.
say, and it's getting silly. Sure is. It's it's well, I mean, all the things that have happened. Where do you how far back do you want to start? What's been the most crazy thing so far since after the playoffs happened up until now that you've seen so far?
Oh, jeez. Um, God, I have to think about that. There's been so much. I think just the sheer amount that's happened. I think the craziest thing for me was Saturday, that just flurry of trades on Saturday right before the roster freeze.
Yeah,
That was nuts how they all came in like right around the same time, right before that roster freeze. There was just like six or seven major deals there, and they all just happened at the same time. This has been a wild off season. Um, we're definitely off to a roaring start as far as player movement goes, and we haven't even gotten to the draft or free agency yet, and everything's already been nuts. So think we're in for quite an off season this year in the NHL, and I'm really excited to see how it all goes. But that is just, I think the one craziest thing was just all those trades at the same time on Saturday.
yeah, yeah, and well, let's why not? Let's talk about some of those trades. It was hard to get like for YouTubers that are trying to keep up with things and do videos as things go. That stuff is like chaotic. It's just whoa, I gotta go. Then you're doing another one, but great.
And I was at work all weekend, so I didn't even I wasn't home when any of it was
Yeah,
happening.
that's frustrating, isn't it? It's popping up on your phone, and you're like, ah, man.
Yeah, I missed all of it because I wasn't home. But yeah, it was a wild day.
Yeah, well, for me, the one that really got me, and I still haven't wrapped my head around it, was I think it was the first one where, uh, hey, welcome Mercer and John Weichel. Right on, buddy. Thanks for coming in. Uh, what the heck is Stevie Y thinking here? I have to imagine this is not done. Like it seems like to me with that trade, there did you think there was a reason why you need to give up a second to take that contract from the Islanders? That
I think that that was probably I have a feeling that that was a setup trade
yeah,
where now Lou owes the Red Wings.
yes,
I think that was the first of a setup trade
yeah,
there. Because I mean, if you're the Red Wings, you have no problem taking Letty's contract for this next season because it is 5.5 million for 1 year. You're not even close to a playoff team. You've got tons of cap space. But to give obviously giving up the second was kind of I was a little surprised. Now they do have I mean Detroit has loads of draft picks over the next 2 years,
yeah.
so it's not a huge thing. But I have a feeling that that was more of a setup trade. That was all right. We're gonna do you a favor here. Now you're gonna do us a favor at some point down the line. Um, but Detroit's one of those teams that can take on a contract like that, and it's not an issue for them.
Yeah.
And obviously, the Islanders have been dumping cap like crazy this offseason so far because they have some massive RFAs that they need to get signed. Um, but yeah, at face value, if you look at that trade, you're like, why would the Red Wings do that?
Exactly.
But I think that that's a setup trade for something else.
Yeah, and like I often do, is I'll go. I like getting on the Facebook and stuff like that and having conversations. And yeah, people think that he got such a fantastic player in that trade, and Letty's just terrible off defensively. Um, he's a terrible defensive player, and the Islanders had no leverage. So I agree with you. It sounds like a setup trade to me. It sounds like it's like, okay, we'll do you a solid here, but when we need it down the road, when say
Yeah.
the Islanders window is pretty much closed and Detroit's on the way up. Remember that second round pick I gave you so you could
Hmm.
get as much cap room as possible? It's time to bring it back here. That certainly looks like it to me because Detroit had all the leverage in that deal all day. It should the Islanders should have been giving them a second to take Letty's contract.
To take the contract, yeah.
Yeah, so it was very odd, but and then we've been talking about a lot about the work that Fitzgerald is doing in New Jersey, and he just keeps it rolling, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he's done a phenomenal job with the New Jersey Devils, and the Ryan Graves deal was phenomenal. I like that trade for both teams because Colorado was going to lose Graves for nothing, and to get something out of that was better than him just going off to Seattle.
Yeah,
But talk
yeah,
about an improvement to the Devils blue
no doubt.
line with a guy like Ryan Graves coming in, and now you have Ty Smith as the looks like the number one guy, and you have Ryan Graves on the second pair now, and that I think that's a really good 1-2 punch in your top four, and that's a young 1-2 punch in the top four as well. So, um, I think the blue line has been an issue for the Devils. We know that they've got talent up front. We know that they've got some really good young players in their system that haven't made the NHL quite yet, but they drafted Dawson Mercer last year. Um, they drafted Alexander Holtz last year. Like they've got talent coming up, but the blue line has been a little bit harder for them to get right than up front. And for them to go out and make a move for Graves like that, who's still only 26 years old, and then you've got Ty Smith, who's 21. They're starting to get there. You can see the building blocks falling into
Yep.
place for the New Jersey Devils. Blackwood in goal, Smith and Graves on the back end. Obviously Hughes and Heischer up front, and then you've got Holtz coming up, and you've got Mercer coming into the mix. You've got Jesper Boquist is 22, Jesper Bratt is 22, Zaka's 24, McLeod's 23. Like you see it coming together for New
Yep.
Jersey. They're still probably a couple years away, but you can see the direction that they're going in, and I think that down the line it's going to be looking pretty good for the Devils.
Yeah, I think Kaukinen, Sharon Govich. It's
Yeah, Sharon
yeah,
Govich and Kuokkanen and both they just came onto the scene last year and had great
yeah.
seasons.
Yeah.
So
Those were just
it's exciting.
great pickups by. I think they were all by
Yep.
Fitzgerald, weren't they? I could be wrong about that, but I think they were. He just hasn't. I don't think he's made a mistake yet. Like he's really hit it out of the park as far as I'm concerned. Fantastic pickups there. Um,
Hmm.
so, okay, yeah, that was one of my favorite deals for both teams. I
Yeah.
agree. I mean, Colorado got something again. I mean, they gave up 2 seconds for Tays, and now Maltsev looks like he might be able to play in your bottom six. You never know. He's young. He's big. He's
Yeah.
solid. I don't
Yep.
know, but they get another second out of the deal. So
Yeah.
nice move for sure. I got a couple things in the chat. You might as well get at it. We can go all over the place here because it's all going to be about the Seattle picks. That's what it's going to be up until
Hmm.
Wednesday for sure. No, I think you agree with me on this one about Seattle taking Price.
I wouldn't take Price if I'm Seattle.
Right.
Well, one, I don't want that contract. And now there's all these health questions. Is he, if he has hip surgery or knee surgery, is he even going to play next year? I would not take Price if I'm Seattle. And there's better value goaltenders for the money that you could get. I mean, uh, if I'm Ron Francis, I'm not touching Carey Price. He's 34 years, going to be 34 years old. He's got injury issues, and All right, yeah, he was spectacular in the playoffs this past year. He wasn't very good during the regular season. He hasn't played consistently at that super high level in recent really the last number of years. He's put some good playoffs together, but he's not great during the regular season. He's not a Vezina level goalie anymore. And now you've got all these health questions about him. At that contract, I wouldn't touch it if I was Seattle. I would go in a completely different direction as far as goaltending. And even if you get Carey Price, I don't think Seattle's going to be a playoff team next year. So then what's the point?
Yeah. I wouldn't do it flat out either, but I was listening to Gravitate. I thought there was more to this than just meets the eye, and I think it could very well be. I don't know what the legality of this is, but the thinking Gravitate brought up a possibility, and I think a very great thing to do if you're able to do it, and that's take Carey Price and then trade Carey Price back, or you could even do a three-way trade or something, retaining, say, 2 years of the $5 million, half of his salary for 2 years or something like that. In which case, then getting their first-round pick this year or something of that nature. That makes a lot of sense. And the reason why I thought there was something up is because Carey Price's wife made a statement, actually, saying, just wait till you see what happens. Everything's going to be okay. That's what she said. So it leads me to believe that either they already know that Seattle's not going to take him, which, like you, I probably wouldn't either. I thought about it, if I could find a way to get value for him, but I don't think there's any value, even though he played so good in the playoffs. And like you said, with the knee injury, and before the playoffs, he didn't play a lot, and he hasn't played a lot for the last 2-3 years. There's really not much value right now in anybody taking a chance on that contract, is there?
No, $10.5 million a year is just way too big of a cap hit. And the only goalie in the league I would even consider at $10.5 million is Andrei Vasilevsky, because he plays an absolute ton and he's never really been injured. I would take Vasilevsky is the only goaltender I would even consider at a cap hit like that. And he's making 9.5 from Tampa now, but Price isn't even close to worth his contract at this point. He still has 5 seasons left on that contract.
Yeah.
Which is brutal, almost as bad as Shea Weber having 5 seasons left on his. I wouldn't do it if I was Seattle. There are better value goaltending options out there than Carey Price at that kind of cap hit. So I would stay away from that. I would certainly be taking Drieger from Florida, and I'd be looking hard at Kakkonen from the Minnesota Wild. I would be looking hard at him because he's still very young, and he showed flashes last year of possibly being a guy that could really become a solid starter in the NHL. And he was left unprotected, and he's only 24. I would take a look there. If you want to go veteran, you could maybe pick up a veteran somewhere too. But Price's contract is not anything I would want anything to do with.
I have a feeling,
unless you knew you were going to immediately trade him somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. But I just don't think anybody's going to see the value on that. The first thing I do is call up Benning and Holland in Edmonton and see what they have to say, because you never know what they're going to do.
Yeah, maybe Edmonton.
Well, you never know. Talking about that, I didn't get your take on Keith on that deal. What did you think of that?
I just like Duncan Keith. I think could have a certain role where he could actually help the Edmonton Oilers, but them taking on that whole contract. There's so much. There's better ways to spend that money. Like, if you want an experienced veteran defenseman, that's fine, and I think that the Oilers will greatly benefit from that. But you don't pay $5.5 million plus a year for that for a guy who's 37 and significantly declined over the past 3 seasons. Um, I did that. I don't even like. I think Caleb Jones in a third round pick was a little bit of an overpayment. But if that was Caleb Jones in a third round pick for Duncan Keith at half his salary, if they got Chicago to retain 50%, then that's fine. I'd be fine with that. But the fact that the Oilers gave up a third, Caleb Jones, as we'll see what he turns into. I don't. He might be a bottom pair guy. He might be a seventh defenseman, but he's still 24. He's got room to grow, but it's not like he put up huge numbers with Edmonton. He only had 4 points last year. That I would be fine with if the salary was retained. I just don't like Edmonton taking on this whole contract. I mean, they don't have a third line center. They've had major scoring depth issues for years now, and we've seen it the past 2 seasons in the playoffs. If you can take McDavid and Draisaitl and just limit them, they have nothing else offensively. Absolutely
That,
nothing else offensively. It kills them every year. And though that's an area that they needed to be putting money towards was secondary scoring and getting McDavid and Draisaitl some help. Kyle Turris was a complete failure as a third line center. And I actually liked that signing last offseason because I thought it was worth a shot at the low cost at what they gave him, but it didn't work. He did not have he was useless this
mm-hmm.
year. So you still need a third line center if you're Edmonton. And are they going to go into another season with Smith and Koskinen as their goaltending duo? Like, how many times can you do that and lose in the first round before you realize that you need better goaltending than that? So I just thought there were other areas that Edmonton needed to put money towards. And I have no problem with them getting a veteran defenseman, but paying this much for it, I don't think is a wise use of money for the
Yeah,
Oilers.
I know why they do it because it's hard to get people to come to Edmonton, and when they get a phone,
Yeah.
I'm not justifying it necessarily. The thing is, I think they're just overreacting here, and sometimes I think Holland is just too nice of a guy. He just liked the story that Duncan Keith wanted to go there and be close to his son, and I don't know. I think he got all warm and fuzzy inside, and just freaking, I don't know. It's you had all the time in the world to wait to see what else was out there. You know, it's not like he was going anywhere else. He said he wanted to go close to his son. He's not going to all of a sudden go to Boston or something like that.
Yeah.
Vancouver wasn't putting anything in on him. Seattle didn't seem to.
Nope.
Seattle would have charged them to take him. Seattle would have said, "You're going to have to give me a pick."
100%.
Right? So
yeah,
they could have waited it out. I just think, like giving up a third, almost the same as giving up a second for in this cap world, giving up a third for a 38-year-old defenseman who really put his defensive numbers last year. Every player he played with played better when they weren't playing with them. Now, I think that has a lot to do with the fact that he played 21 minutes a night. I think he was burning out in a game. At 15 minutes a night, from what I saw him, he could be a very solid defenseman. But I have a feeling that Tippett's going to play him 21 minutes a night too. And here's the other thing. The big rumor going around is, what's his name from Toronto? The free agent from Toronto in the Leaf for the Leafs.
Hyman. Zach
They're
Hyman.
going after Zach Hyman.
I like Hyman, but I think he's going to get overpaid this offseason.
Absolutely.
He's a high motor. I like Zach Hyman. He's a high motor player. He's a very effort, goes to the net, gritty, not big, but gritty guy. But I think he's going to get overpaid this offseason. Somebody's going to bite it, and just give him way too much money. Yeah, he's not worth that.
It sounds like it's going to be the Oilers. So that's.
Do you want Jake DeBrusk from Boston? Because I'll gladly do that deal. I'll give you Jake DeBrusk.
No, I don't. I want a shooter that can play on the frickin' line. Like, okay, I understand. Hyman did very well in that situation. You got Matthews and Marner. All he has to do is dig out the puck and get it to one of
Yep.
those guys, and he gets a point on the board. By the way, he was one of the highest second assist guys in the league last year for a good
Mm-hmm.
reason. Okay, he can
Yep.
probably do that with McDavid and whoever's on the right side there too, but that's not what I want. I want a guy that can control a line a little bit if you're going to pay $6 million a year. I think Hyman can end up being an absolute disaster in the long run. If you give
Yeah.
him,
He's also 29
yeah,
already.
if you,
I didn't realize that Hyman was that
yeah, he's a
old.
late bloomer on top of it. He's probably hit his peak already. Yeah,
I'd like Hyman at like 4.5
maybe,
million.
yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah, because by the end of that
wouldn't want
contract,
him
he'd be a
over.
third line winger, and probably the market would be for a third line winger right around 4.5. So yeah, I don't mind that. But six,
Yeah. No, somebody's gonna pay him way too much money.
absolutely. And it sounds like it's like all over the place that the Oilers are all over him. So well, you
Well,
saw what Holland did. He grabbed how he overpaid for guys like him all over the place. Abdul Kader,
yep,
Helm,
yep.
like
That I mean, that's what really brought down Detroit was that he Holland falls in love with these hardworking veteran players, especially like when Detroit won the cup in '08. Those guys he fell in love with and was like, all right, I'm gonna lock you guys up and give you big contracts to keep you here. And then they got older, their play significantly declined, and they were still locked into these horrid, huge contracts. And that's what Holland did in Detroit, and that's ultimately what led to him being gone in Detroit when the Red Wings fell off and those guys got older. And I could see him doing the same thing where you just overpay for that like third line type guy.
mhm,
It's like those guys are valuable, but they're valuable at a certain price
right.
point. And when you overpay for them, they're not worth their contracts anymore. When you have a flat
Hmm.
cap, you really can't afford to be overpaying for third line level
Nope.
guys.
He's an elite. Hyman is an elite utility player. He can play anywhere on your
Yes.
roster, and he's elite at it. I'll give him that. So he should get the
He's one of the best utility guys in the
for sure.
league. But he's only going to put up big points if he's playing with elite players around
Exactly.
him. Like when he's playing with Matthews, he's going to put up
Yeah.
points. But if you played him on a normal third line, he's going to give you like maybe 30 points
Yeah.
in a
He's not
year.
going to run a line. He's not going to
No,
run a line.
he's not going to run a line. He needs to have good players around him, which the Oilers could put him on a line with
Yeah.
McDavid, but I don't know if you're paying $6 million for that.
No, I
I
wouldn't.
wouldn't.
But I bet you they will after everything I've seen Holland do so far. They just can't hire an appropriate general manager there in that city. Uh, I think a good idea for Seattle would be to get Kakinen and Price have Kakinen as your main goalie. I mean, no, I don't think that's a good idea. There's just no way. $10.5 million for Price. There's no way.
You can't spend $10.5 million on a goaltender that's not even your
One
starter.
B,
No
one B.
chance.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Okay,
Maybe half that contract.
right. Okay, and then of course we had the move where Sly moved Lamoriello as he is. He picks up that second, and then he uses it to get rid of Ladd's
Hmm
contract on Arizona.
This was funny because I've never seen a trade with no return
No
before.
return.
I I didn't even know that was a thing until this trade
Yeah,
happened. But I mean, the Islanders again dumping cap space, which they need. They're opening up cap space, dumping salary, which they need to do. This I think was a brilliant move to just get rid of Andrew
yeah,
Ladd. I mean, that gets that contract off the books. It costs you a second round pick that you just picked up for somehow got for Nick
yeah,
Leddy, who also Letty's contract off the books. Now Ladd's contract's off the
yeah.
books. I mean, yeah, you give up a couple seconds for him because you have the conditional 2022 one as well. But I mean, if that means you're able to keep Sorokin, Bavillier, and Pellick, well worth it, in my opinion. The Islanders know that they have to win now. The Islanders have gone to back-to-back semifinals. I guess it wasn't actually the conference finals last year because there weren't conferences, but they essentially went to back-to-back conference finals. They know that if they're going to win, they have to do it now. This is their window to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is you've got to keep Pelech. He's your best defenseman. Pelech is your shutdown top defenseman, and you've got to keep Beauvillier, especially with a team that struggles to score. At times you need a young goal scorer like that. Sorokin proved how good he can be with his play at points this season, and this was just his first year in the NHL. He's going to get better. I mean, you've got to keep these guys if you're the Islanders. To keep them, you've got to be able to pay them. To pay them, they needed guys like Leddy and Ladd gone, and they've been able to do it. So I think, again, brilliant move by New York, who is really just they're trying to do everything they can to get that cup right now, because this is their chance to do it, and they know that.
Their window is not huge there. They got a lot of
not.
older players. Then they I mean, in the second half here, we'll go through each team and their protection list and all that stuff like that and get your. But we will talk about it a little bit here. They're trying to get even more space. They're trying to find a winger for They need a scorer for Barzal. Let's face it. They need a scorer for Barzal because like you said, made it lost twice the same way. They couldn't score, right?
Yeah, I mean, they were playing Leo Komarov on Barzal's left wing. I mean, that's a problem. Yeah. I know Anders Lee would have been there if he was healthy, but you can't be playing Leo Komarov on your top line. I mean, that's not gonna. You're not gonna win a cup with that. They need one more scoring winger. They need one more scoring winger there. I wonder if they try and bring back Palmieri.
Maybe.
He's a UFA. He played really well for them in the playoffs. Didn't do a whole lot. Didn't adjust quickly in the regular season, but did a very good job in the playoffs for them.
I heard.
Obviously.
I heard they were going to They're taking a really good look at Tarasenko.
Yeah, they were one of the teams that was rumored to be in on Tarasenko. I think Tarasenko is a huge question mark because of the injuries.
I wouldn't be taking him at 7.5 for sure. The idea is that Seattle will pick him, another retain because they can retain 3 players, retain 3.5 and trade him to the Islanders, and they'll give them picks or whatever.
You could see. I also wonder maybe, are they waiting on Oliver Wahlstrom to kind of take that next step? I don't know. Yeah. I just think they need one more scorer there.
I think
they need one more scorer.
I think Wahlstrom will take the next step too.
Yeah, I don't think he's far away, but he got hurt in the playoffs. But then once he came out of the lineup, they never put him back in. But he's a guy. He had 12 goals in 44 games last year as a 20/21-year-old. So
not bad at all.
I think I definitely think that there's more potential there for him in a full season to be a 20 to 25 goal guy, even at 21 years old, and could even go up from there. So I just think the Islanders, they know that they've got to do it now. I mean, I'm looking at their roster right now. There are so many guys 30 plus on this team. The guys that aren't 30 plus, a lot of them are late 20s, like 28, 29. Barzal obviously is young at 24, but there's a lot of guys late 20s here and early 30s. So their window, they've got to do it now. And I think this was a move that they're trying to open up that cap space so that they can get everybody re-signed. They re-signed Pulock during the year, before the year started last year. They got one more year of him on this bridge deal, and then he's going to be up again after next season, and he'll be a UFA this time, so he's going to get another raise probably. So
yeah,
it's it's do or die time now for the New York Islanders, and they're acting in that manner.
Yeah, so
Where
they're giving up Eberle. Would you take Eberle? They're leaving
depending
him
on
unprotected.
yeah, I mean looking at looking at the Islanders list here. I mean, if you're Seattle, if I would probably Eberle's probably the best player
Sure.
available. Depends on what direction you want to go in, I would imagine. If they're trying to go, if Seattle's not trying to be good next year, then maybe you don't. But no, I would, looking at this list, I would say Eberle would probably be my guy. Because I would value Eberle higher than Josh Bailey. So I would probably take Eberle if I was Seattle.
Yeah. I think I'm going to play some games and try to suck out a pick with Eberle because, like, obviously they want me to take him. I don't.
Yeah.
They like. It's weird. They had some time to trade Eberle, and I know that it's going to be hard to do that before the expansion draft because if you take somebody, then you've got to, you know, leave somebody off that maybe you want to keep as well. So maybe Eberle is a guy that they can trade after the expansion draft. But if that's the case, why are you leaving him out, right? So I'm looking him out going, you obviously don't think you're going to get anything for Eberle. Why would I help you out and give you $5.5 more million of cap space? You can throw me at least a third or a fourth, and then I'll take Eberle off your hands. Otherwise, I'm taking whatever happened to Bellows, by the way. My gosh, that guy didn't do anything. I looked.
No, he's really
Yeah,
struggled.
he just never became anything that they thought he was going to become, and now he's out there.
Yeah, he's 23 now, hasn't really been able to crack the NHL lineup. And I mean, if Seattle doesn't want to take cap or give the Islanders cap space, then you obviously wouldn't take Eberle or Bailey, and you would probably take a Bellows or Koivula, somebody like that. Koivula is 22. Again, hasn't really cracked the NHL lineup. Del Cole's still out there, which is funny because he was such a high
Yeah.
pick. But I don't think Del Cole's ever going to really be much at the NHL level. I mean, you could take one of those guys if you were Seattle, then try and make a deal after and get a pick, or get a pick out of it for taking Eberle off their hands as
Mhm.
well. That's definitely an option. I don't know what what direction Rod Francis is really going to try and go in. I mean, if there's some good players out there, if they're trying to put a competitive team on the ice next year, then I mean, Jordan Eberle is going to be a pretty good scorer that's
Mhm.
available. But if you're going more of that pick route where you're trying to acquire young guys and picks, and use these veteran players as leverage to get more picks, then you probably take some AHL guy, young AHL guy, and then you try and work a side deal for someone like Eberle and get the pick
Yeah.
for it. It's really going to depend on what direction Ron Francis wants to go in.
I think with with the drafts ahead, like these next drafts are huge, and they
Yeah.
don't really have to do what Vegas did. They don't have to. That market there is pretty strong as it is. As long as they, bring it out, say, hey, let's go grow with these guys, and they show that they're progressing and getting.
Hmm.
I think they'll be okay. I think that's the direction that Ron Francis would normally show to go. Like he seems like has always seemed to be a draft and develop type guy. So why
Yeah.
would you hire a guy that's a draft develop guy and not go that direction? So I think that's likely the case. However, Eberle at the trade deadline when his salary is a lot lower, you might be able to
Yeah.
pick up a pick or so from him or something like that. So
Hmm.
maybe you do take Eberle, but it's interesting that they left him off because that tells me that there's going to be some big changes on the island, and they got their eyes on some players to fill that roster up. They still need a defenseman uh, now that they traded Letty. I mean, say whatever you want about Letty, he still was a defenseman that played minutes. You know,
Yeah.
I I don't see anything on that roster. Dobson can play more, but
Yeah, I think they're hoping that Dobson really takes that next step. but you might see them bring in a veteran guy that would be kind of lower cost, I would imagine. Um, I wonder if they'd be in on Ryan Suter. I don't know what Suter's going to be
Yes.
looking for money
Yeah.
wise,
Yeah.
but I think there are going to be a lot of teams in on Ryan Suter though because he's still playing at a very high level.
Yep,
Um,
he is, and I
so
think your team is the one that's going to get him.
I would love to see that. I would love to see him. I think Suter's still got two more really good seasons left in the
Hmm.
tank. And he doesn't put up offensively what he once did, but he's still a great shutdown defensive guy. And I think if you take a little bit of pressure that was in him in Minnesota, that was on him in Minnesota off, and kind of make him more of a number two, three guy rather than having to be a number one, I think you might get you might get some really solid play still out of him. I was a little surprised that Minnesota even bought him out. Parise, I wasn't surprised about at all, but Suter, I think, still does have a couple of really high-level seasons left.
Yeah, I
The,
do. I agree. Yeah, yeah. We didn't talk about that either. Yeah, I was a little surprised, but I get it. They want to move on. They're obviously going to go with youth more and try to bring up this roster, and they didn't want veterans blocking their path. That seems to be the case.
yeah.
They're really high on Kalen Addison, who should be getting a more of a
Mm-hmm.
role next year. So I get it. I get why they did it. I don't think it was an easy decision by any stretch because that's a lot of dead cap space for the next 3 4 years, for sure.
Yeah, it gets bad for them. In years 3 and 4 of that buyout, the dead cap space is massive. It's like 14 million combined, or it's over 14 million combined. It's
Yeah,
rough.
yeah. Um, I think basically the way they're looking at it after that, like it spells out to me that they're looking at a 4 or 5 year plan. That
Hmm.
and that's the difficult thing about signing Kaprizov right now, because if I'm Kaprizov, I'm like, do I want to be a 4 or 5 year plan, or do I want like he's not? They offered him 9 million for 8 years, and he turned it down, which I don't blame him because you're looking at a guy like Panarin. He's every bit as good as Panarin, I think. Do you?
I think I think he has that potential. Absolutely. I think he's got to do it for more than 1 year in the NHL before I put him at that level. But I think he has the potential. If he continues on the path that he's on, he absolutely could be another Panarin. But he's only had 1 season in the NHL, and I think it's kind of ridiculous that he's turning down the amount of money that he's turning down. Apparently, he wants a shorter term deal at 10 million a year. Listen, he scored 27 goals as a rookie last year in a shortened season. That's a great rookie season. He's not a $10 million player, in my opinion.
Well,
I'm not paying him $10 million right
well,
now.
it's probably is asking him what he's going to get, or he's probably looking something like Aho type thing on a short deal. At this point, with the talent that I see in the electrifying player that he is, I'm probably taking a chance and I'll give you 10 for 8. And if you turn it down, $10 million for 8 years right now, if you turn it down, like what short term, how short term are we talking? Uh, if it's like, if he's saying he only wants like up until free agency, yeah, if I'm not even buying out any of his free agent years or something like that, yeah, talks are broke down. And yeah, this is the hard thing about the NHL right now is you're really trying to figure out, does this guy really want to be here? You hear general managers say it all the time that the player just didn't want to be a Bruin or didn't want to be this because
Hmm.
they're obviously overpricing themselves out of our market. So what are you
Yeah.
going to do, right?
Well, he's threatening to go back to Russia.
Right. And that was a big, and that's it's hard. It's there. You got to find a team. That's the reason why people avoid Russians so much. Like how many times you see
Yeah.
Russians fall down in the draft because they've got that
Yep.
holding over your head that they can go back to the KHL. And now, if
Yeah.
he's only going to take that, Minnesota fans are going to be very upset because there's a team out there that will do what he's saying. You know it. There's a team out there that will give him what he wants, and Minnesota will have to look to trade him to that team. That's
Yeah.
that's the way it is. Anaheim will do it. I know they will. Are you kidding me? A market like that,
I wonder.
they'll do it.
I was thinking. I wonder if LA would be in on
Probably.
that. I mean, an electric scoring winger like that to LA with that market, and obviously, they're kind of just coming out of that rebuild. I mean, if LA were to land a guy like Kaprizov, like what an addition that would be. I think that, yeah, it's definitely a move that you could see if they can't get something done between Minnesota and Kaprizov. But man, I think his contract demands that I've heard are definitely more than what I would be paying if I was a general manager for a guy who's had one really good NHL season. Looks like a great goal scorer, but he's got to prove himself more than 1 year before I'm giving anybody 10 million per season.
Yeah, I'm on the fence about that because sometimes you just have to take the bull by the horns and say, you know what, that contract, the way he's projecting to be, that contract will probably look pretty good in 5 years. If yeah, like I haven't seen a guy play with that kind of electricity since like Pavel Bure. Like you know what I mean? Like I don't say he's as good as Bure was, but I think he's pretty darn close to that type of out of your seat type play that he has. Oh, is it echoing? Why would it be echoing? Montreal did report that Carey Price got injured. Sometimes you got to take risks in to be able to be effective. Like some of the great contracts out there were risky. They were very risky contracts. They signed them up early, and it turned out okay. Some of the worst contracts out there were risky too.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I just, I don't know. The only reason why Kaprizov would be a problem if they did that, it would be because he got the money and it just tailed off, right? Like we've seen how many times. But that usually happens
Uh-huh.
whenever you give it to them. Like it doesn't matter if it's like 3 years and they show you, then you give them the big contract, and then all of a sudden, the your multi-million dollar lifestyle kicks in, and hockey isn't as important as it was before, right? That you really got to go on character on that one. And if you don't feel like the player that you're talking to has the character to be hockey first in their life, I don't think you give them that
Hmm.
contract, right?
No, I think you've when you're talking that kind of money per year, I think you've got to be very judicious with how you spend that. I mean, you look at the guys who are making that kind of money. They're the Austin Matthews, the Mitch Marners, the Connor McDavids, the Artemi Panarins. Like those are guys who are proven players that are putting up well over a point per game each and every year. And some of them putting up well more than that. And I just, it's a risk. I mean, Clayton Keller got over 7 million per season from the Arizona
Yep.
Coyotes, and this guy had 44 points in 2019-2020 and had 35 points last year in 2020-2021. And he's making over seven, like Jeff Skinner. I mean,
Oh,
he wasn't as young, obviously, but he got that massive contract from Buffalo after his 40-goal season. Has done absolutely nothing since. Like, I think when you're handing out that kind of money, you've got to be very judicious with it, because if it goes wrong, there that's a big chunk of your cap being completely wasted. And I mean, I don't know. Kaprizov's, we know he's been a 30-plus goal guy in the KHL. He comes over to the US and plays with Minnesota this past season, puts up 27 goals in a shortened year, which, he looks like he's probably going to be a 40-goal guy in a regular season. Um, if he stayed a 40-goal guy, sure, you that would end up being a pretty good contract. But I mean, look at what happened when Alexander Radulov came over. Like when he originally came over, and all the issues he had with Nashville, and then all the issues he had in Montreal when he played there as well, and like they couldn't, he wasn't performing at the level that he was supposed to, and now he's in Dallas now, and he's kind of found it in Dallas, but he's not making, he's making 6.25 a year. And but when Radulov first came over, like there were major issues with his contract and what he was actually producing. I mean, he had a, let's see, 2007, 2008, he had a 58-point season with the Predators, and then he went back to the KHL. And then came back with Nashville again in 2011, 2012, and was okay, but then went back to the KHL. And then he came back with Montreal and had a 54-point season. Then he finally went to Dallas and had a 72-point year and kind of became the player that he was supposed to be. But Russian players are question marks at times because, sometimes they get that money, and I mean, look at Ilya Kovalchuk in that contract with New Jersey. And then he just walked away from that contract to go back to Russia. And he kind of screwed the Devils.
I don't think, I think there's more to that. I'll get into both of those. First of all, Radulov, the reason why it didn't work out for them is he was asking for a lot more to be in Montreal because of the tax situation.
Yeah.
See, and Montreal and Bergevin said, I can't give that $8 million to Radulov. You can't.
And a 50-point player is not worth $8 million to begin with.
You can't blame him for not signing him. And then he goes to Texas and makes what, 6.5, because their tax structure there in Texas, they basically pay no taxes. The income tax, anyways. It's in a lot of you get it in a lot of other ways. You have to pay up, but income tax, their income tax is very low. So that's the problem that Montreal has had to struggle with for a long time now. As far as Kovalchuk, I believe that was already planned all the way through. I think Lamoriello was like, look, we need you for 2-3 years. We'll give you this outrageous contract and then go home. I do believe that. And I think that's exactly what happened. Because they didn't want to pay that long contract. It just so happens that Kovalchuk retires. Like, do you think Lamoriello was like, no, please stay? No, the team was in a rebuild after that. They had a 2 or 3 year window to win. He stayed there for all of them. I think they made the finals once, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 2012.
Yeah. Made the finals once. It didn't work out, and then he all of a sudden retires. Seems a little too convenient to me. But that's what happened. I think the Lamoriello did. I think Lamoriello always finds a way to think things outside of the box, as we just saw with what. Sometimes I wonder if Lamoriello's got like part of the mob or something with some of the stuff he gets away with. It's crazy. Getting Stevie Y to do that deal, like, hey Stevie, I really think you want to give me a 2nd round pick for Letty. Well, what are you talking about? I'm not going to do that. I think you and your family think that it's a really good idea that you gave me a 2nd for Letty. If a Russian wants to, they can come after 4, 5, 6 years of development. Yeah, that's true, but we've had this debate before. I don't think the KHL is a great developmental league at all. So they say, well, they're playing against men, but it's getting more and more so because they are starting to use NHL rinks there. But it's a pretty soft game in comparison to the NHL. That's why the guys that can't handle the physicality here go there.
Alex Semin.
Yeah. Alex Semin. Yeah, there's a good. What a guy. He had so much skill, but no heart at all. Like nothing.
Oh, no. Again, another like very low, kind of low effort player. It was just a perimeter skill player that didn't want anything to do with the hard parts of the game.
I think, like I said, Bill, I think Hall's going to sign in Boston, don't you?
Yeah, no, I think Hall's coming back. I think that I don't. I think that there's probably already a verbal agreement in place
Yeah.
with Hall and the Bruins, and that's they could easily leave him unprotected because even if Seattle picks him, he's just not going to sign with Seattle.
Yeah.
And then on July 28th, when he becomes a free agent, he can just sign back in Boston. So I the word around here is that they already have like a contract kind of in place and verbally agreed upon. They just have to wait to actually do it. But I do think he's going to be back with the Bruins.
Yeah, I do too. Do I think there was something else I was going to say, and shoot, I completely forgot. It was real. Oh yeah, that's what it was. That's the other thing. I think Joe Sakic's doing that with Landeskog too. I think they have a deal in place. The way he's talking is they don't, but I just think that has to do with the fact that play this out, okay? Landeskog puts outrageous numbers out there. Sakic doesn't want to touch it. They leave him open to the expansion draft because Seattle can pick him and give him like they'd be the only team that could give him an 8-year contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but this is just a way to make it so Seattle's thinking, I don't know, this sounds like this guy wants $9 million or whatever the case may be. And the fact of the matter is, Landeskog probably doesn't want to go to Seattle anyways, even if it is an 8-year contract. So I think it's more of just a way to make it so they could protect one more player. And Landeskog was going to sign there all the time. There's a lot of dramatics happening in the NHL right now in these protection things. Philly Tarasenko talks are legit. I think they could be. It all depends on, like, you got to talk to the doctors. I can't talk to the doctors, so I don't know, right? But if they talk to the doctors, their doctors get to check them out and all that kind of stuff like that, and it comes out that the guy can still score 25 goals in the league, and you can get Seattle to pick him up and then retain half, it's worth it for anybody, really, right?
Yeah, I think a move like that is probably what we're going to see.
Yeah. Yeah, Swayman is exempt. He didn't play enough games and not enough years or anything like that. He's just
he's a first-year player, so he's exempt. You have to, I think, have 2 NHL seasons under your belt to have to be protected. If you have less than 2 full seasons, or well, not. If you have less than 2 seasons played, then you're exempt.
Yeah. So, and I agree with you. I think like free agent time, you'll see a lot of signings, but why sign up a player now when it's going to affect your protection list? So, a lot of this stuff will be taken care of pretty quickly afterwards.
UFAs didn't make sense to sign before the protection list because you could have a verbal deal in place with the player and be like, we want to bring you back. If Seattle takes you, just don't sign there. Because that's the big risk with Seattle taking a UFA is that there's no guarantee that they want to play there or sign there, so they can just wait till July 28th and sign wherever they want. So if I'm Seattle, I'm not taking UFAs unless I know or have talked to their agent or whatever and know that there's a good chance that they would actually stay in Seattle. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, that would just be a waste. It would be a wasted pick.
Right. Now, if I know for sure that Landeskog is not going to Colorado for whatever reason, and I still wouldn't do this because of the rest of their protection list, but you like just hypothetically speaking, you could pick a guy of that stature, and somebody will give you a second round pick to be able to give them the 8-year deal, right? Then it's okay. You can pull a second round pick out of it. But for your average guy, like, it doesn't make any sense because they're not going to need to get 8-year deals, so there's no use to do it. If you don't know that the only team that can offer a player an 8-year deal is the one that owns the rights of that player. So when you see people trading for the rights of players like that, sometimes it happens like what happened with the Rangers with Gaudreau. He's not going to get an 8-year deal, but it gives him an opportunity to talk to him the whole time that they only gave up a seventh round pick, and it really gives them a
Yeah,
chance.
even though he's a UFA, the Rangers now get to sign him before free agency opens because they have his rights now.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so they can really butter him up and say, hey, this is what we got, this is what we plan to do for you. Sign us to
Overpay for him.
overpay for him a bit, or at least in his mind,
Yeah.
anyways, he's overpaid for whatever he thinks he's going to get on the market. And we obviously really want you here. We gave you this. We gave up a pick to get you now, and all that. It gives a lot of motivation for them to stay there. I have a feeling Goudreau will do it too. It's a perfect spot. Like,
Well, the Frank Saravelli reported today that they have the contract done. They're just waiting to do it till after the expansion draft. But it looks like the Rangers are going to be significantly overpaying for Barclay Goodrow. It's a 6-year deal at over 3.5 per year.
I think there's some.
No, that's a massive.
We'll see what kind
I
of.
would give him a 3x3 max. Anything more than that's an overpayment.
We'll see what kind of points he puts up there. He's got a lot of. He's got some offensive potential there, but I agree it could be a disaster too.
I don't think his body's going to
Yeah,
hold up for 6 years with the style that he plays.
Yeah, yeah. If they're playing him huge minutes in the top six, which is
Oh, he's definitely not a top 6 player
No.
offensively.
no, he's going to have to play in this third line. Interesting. I think that's a bit of an overpayment for sure. No doubt about
I
it.
think that's an overpayment.
And so, what does Coleman get now?
Well, that's the thing. Coleman's probably looking at 5 mil now because Goodrow's getting over 3.5.
He's not going to give him a contract until, yeah, I would imagine so too. Rask. That's a tricky situation there. They'll have to work.
Well, Rask came out and said that he doesn't even want to play anywhere else. So
Yeah, but yeah,
there's no rush to do that.
yeah, they'll just work
if
out
you're
a
the
deal
Bruins.
whenever he comes back. The hard part about
Yeah.
Boston, and we talked it before, is how do you get a backup? You just go with Vladar, do you think? That's it? They're just going to go with Vladar?
I think so. They're going to bring a goalie in, obviously, because Rask isn't going to play the first half of the year. But
It's
yeah, I think it will be whoever they bring in, and Vladar will be the duo.
Oh wow, Jay. Jay, haven't seen you in a long time, buddy. Partying all summer, I guess. Thanks for coming in. Yeah, it has to be because they'll bring in another player like Wedgwood or somebody that doesn't mind going to the minors, would be just happy to get.
No, they're going to be bringing in, they're like possibly like a Bernier or
I don't think Bernier.
that. They're going to be bringing in someone who can start for the first half of the year because Swayman's not going to be in the NHL next year. They're already saying that he is going to get a full year in the AHL. They want him playing on a nightly basis and getting fully
Oh, is
developed
that right?
before he
They're
comes
not going to
up.
go with
Yeah,
him?
you are not going to see. At least the plan right now is to get Jeremy Swayman a full AHL season. They're not going to Carter Hart Swayman. They're going to let him fully develop and play down there. And Vladar and said veteran goaltender is going to be the duo. And then if they want to bring Rask back, then they'll have Rask and veteran goaltender as the duo when he comes back. But someone like Rene was talked about, but obviously he retired. Bernier's been talked about.
Oh, that would be awesome
I
if they
think-
could get Bernier. I just think Detroit's going to
Yeah,
keep him. that's all.
Bernier's one of the guys that I want them to really look at. Mrazek's been talked about.
Ouch. No. No.
I'd rather have Mrazek than Reimer.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Mrazek could put up a 920 save percentage with Boston's defense in front of him.
Maybe you're right there. I don't know. Carolina's defense was in front of him. He's got too many holes.
Yeah, but Mrazek had really good numbers in Carolina.
So many. He's over aggressive, and he comes playoff time. I don't know. I've never been a fan of Mrazek.
Well, the hope isn't that he wouldn't be in during the playoffs. That Rask would be back for the playoffs.
That's true. A filler for the regular season.
Mrazek had a 923 save percentage this
Yeah,
past
it
season.
was a fantastic defense in Carolina. Look, at Maeve Reimer almost had a .900, and he's horrible. So, yeah, and Boston does have. Will they have? Again, I think that's the big thing. They got to improve that defense. I really love the idea. Love for you as well to get Suter. That to me just
I want Suter.
Perfect for Boston.
Then I would pair McAvoy with Suter, and I'd put Grzelcyk with Carlo, and that'd be an ideal top four right there.
That would be an ideal top four. I like that. Okay, so we're gonna go talk to the doggies now, and when we come back, we are gonna go team for team. We're gonna do picks. You into that, or are you able to do that?
Oh yeah.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna go team for team, and we're gonna see who we would both pick out of what's there, or some of the things we might do. I did a video on this, but I haven't put it out yet. I haven't even got it downloaded yet. Just before we did the show, actually. So we'll do that. And first of all, we're gonna go talk to the doggies. We're gonna have some more sponsors coming in. Also, if you know anybody that are YouTubers that do football, basketball, or anything, let me know in the comment section and get to know. We're looking for other content people for our program. We're expanding, so we'll check them out and see if we like it. And if we like them, you never know. They can be part of the Steel Flyers All Sports Network. Talk to you soon.
Greetings. This is Steel Flyers from the Steel Flyers All Sports Network, and we have two very special guests. We are delighted to be joined by Tracy Musser and Nicole Howard from the Canine Country Club Resorts. Tracy and Nicole are both managers for CCC Resorts and work at the Windsor or at the club, one of two locations, both in Manheim, Pennsylvania. Congratulations on your 30th year anniversary of being in business. Let me start off by saying this. Steel Flyers stands behind this company 100%. Taking care of Steel Flyers furry friend for the last 2 years now, and they are a one-stop shop for everything your furry friend needs. In fact, let's find out what our friends at CCC Resorts offer. Nicole, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
But they never got back.
Doing great, thank you. What are some of the great boarding services that you guys offer, and what do we have to do in order to get our furry friends taken care of when we are unable to travel with them?
Well, we like to bring everybody in for a tour first. That way they can see the behind the scenes, they can see where they stay, they can see where they play, and then we explain all of the fun things that we can add on to their reservation, whether it be one of our packages, either a nature walk, a ball time, or even a cuddle time.
Oh, wow, that sounds great. Boy, it sure sounds like a resort to me. So how are you today, Tracy?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Tracy, tell me, is it true that you guys have both an indoor and an outdoor pool at the Windsor location?
It is true. We've got one of each, so we're able to offer year-round swimming. The indoor pool is a great option for dogs who are swimming for therapy or rehab. It's got that sloped entry so they can wade into the water. Our outdoor pool is a little bit larger, and it's 4 foot deep the whole way across. And both of them are saltwater pools, so it's really easy on the dog's skin and coat.
Wow, that's very awesome. So then during the summer months, you have a much deeper pool outside and then a sloped entry shallow pool indoors for the dogs. Tracy, tell the folks how we can get some pool time.
Well, the first thing everyone does is come for an intro swim. We use that time to make sure the dog is comfortable in the water. We make sure they know how to get out of the pool safely, and we go over all the pool rules and etiquette with the clients as well. After that, they're able to schedule private appointments where they have the pool to themselves, or they can invite friends and have a whole group swim going on.
So after a dip in the pool, then, it would have to be off to the groomers, right? I mean, our furry friends cannot go out looking their best. Nicole, what are some of the great services your top-notch groomers provide?
Our groomers, they specialize in full-service grooms. We can do the basics, whether it be just a bath and a brush out or a blowout. Or for the extra pampered pooches, we can do nail Dremels, we can do deodorizing soaks, and also facials.
Wow, man, that sounds like a resort if you ask me. Tracy, I know one of the main programs here at CCC Resorts is the WAGS program. The Steel Flyers dog is enrolled in this program. So why don't you tell the folks what is involved in this and how they can get enrolled?
Yeah, the WAGS program is our primary daycare option at the Windsor. It's designed to be a structured program for people who are looking for a set routine for their dog. They all come on the same days each week, which allows them to have set friends, and we know exactly what's going on with each group. So we do a little bit more activities, and we build more into their daily routine there. But we've got other daycare options as well for people looking for a little less commitment. We do an hourly care where you can drop them off and just pay by the hour. We also do a day stay option, which is great for the dogs that prefer human friends instead of making friends with other dogs. And then we have a traditional daycare option as well if you're looking for the occasional outing for your dog.
Wow, there you have it. A full-service groomer, a daycare program, and an indoor and outdoor pool. What more could you ask for? Sure seems like CCC Resorts has everything covered. Remember, DOG, depend on God.
Oops. That didn't seem that long. All right, everybody, we are back. Okay, so we are going to look at every team now and who they're going to be picking and all of those sort of things. Oh, they heard us. I guess I didn't shut off the things. I could have swore I did, but oh well. Okay, I got to bring it up here. I just did it on my show, so I just did it for a video, so I have it up here. Okay, do you have it up?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to look at the availability lists and who we would pick, and we're going to start from Anaheim. We're going to go right through everybody, or who we think Seattle might pick, who we pick, all of that kind of stuff like that.
Yep.
Source, we're going to start with the Anaheim Ducks, and a couple interesting guys there. I have a toss-up one, but I'll throw it at you. Who do you like with what they have available there?
Hayden Fleury.
Okay.
25-year-old defenseman that can play both sides. He's kind of always he was buried kind of in Carolina because they're so deep on defense, but obviously there's a lot of upside potential there with him. I think when you're starting out a brand new team, a younger guy like this and with upside is a solid one to bring in, and a low cap hit of just 1.3 million. Looking at Anaheim's list, they have a lot of veteran guys like Getzlaf, and well, he's a UFA, so it doesn't really matter. But Henrique, I wouldn't touch Henrique. Derek Grant doesn't really bring much value there. There's not a lot to pick from. Shattenkirk, I think at this point there would be no point in that. Hayden Fleury, I think him or Jacob Larson, I think Fleury probably has a little bit higher upside, so he'd be my guy that I'd take.
I like Volkov a lot, and they're going to need forwards. I do like Hayden Fleury too, but there's a lot of defensemen available, and big, strong guys at 23 years old that are could put up some pretty decent points in Anaheim. I really liked him I like what he brought to the table. The only thing that I'd be concerned about again is what we just talked about. Is he just trying to put up big points and then run off to the KHL, right? So it's a 50-50 for me. I might go Hayden Fleury, but I really like Volkov's game, so that would be a guy that I'd be looking at. I think Hayden Fleury, yes, he got buried in Carolina, but when I saw him in Anaheim, it didn't look like he took the step there to get a spot either. We'll find out, because if he is valuable enough to Anaheim, I mean, he's a young guy, they'll probably do something to make a deal. They'll probably make a deal to keep Hayden Fleury, I would think. It'll give us I didn't honestly watch Anaheim enough last year to really get a good read on how Hayden Fleury played. So, anyways, that's either one, but those are the two guys I was looking at. Did you and you also said Larson too, right?
Yeah, Larson could be a guy I'd look at, but out of the defensemen, Hayden Fleury would be the one.
Yeah, I probably would.
He'd be my
I probably would do too. See if there's anything funky with that. They had to kind of let Fleury go because you can't let Lindholm or Manson go for free, and so it's not like they wanted to let him go, but they really. But I'm surprised. Again, if the rest of the league thought Fleury was a top 4 future guy, like for instance, a team like Detroit, don't you think that they would have called him up and said, "Hey, we'll give you a pick for him or whatever," right?
Well, I think Anaheim wants guys like that. Anaheim's just as much of a rebuild right now as Detroit is. So
yeah, so maybe they work out a deal here. It seems like if they really like him, they'll probably work out a deal to keep him, but we'll see. Arizona, there wasn't much on the table here, but if you had to pick somebody here, who would you be looking at?
Geez, there is not much in Arizona.
Yeah.
Tyler Pitlick, maybe, just as a bottom 6 winger.
Yeah, I was looking at that.
Kind of a high motor player. Christian Fisher is pretty similar, and he's younger. Maybe Christian Fisher.
He's terrible.
Yeah, I'll go with Fisher. There's not much here in Arizona.
His skating is so bad, Christian Fisher. He never got much better at his skating. I have a little thing that I would do here. Is I would put a flyer in, because they get to talk to players before free agency, and isn't that before the draft? Like, can't they do it now? How does that work? But I like Bunting.
No, free agency is after the draft.
I like Bunting a lot. But he's a free agent this year, so that would be the risk of that. But I have a feeling Bunting would be pretty happy to get a league minimum from anybody right now. So I really like what he was doing in Arizona. So it would be tough to make that, because he could just turn it down and say, I still want to go on the market. So that's the hard part with that. But that would be the guy. The other one, maybe Ilya Lyabushkin. He did play, 5-6 minutes there in Arizona. Probably wouldn't have anywhere else, but he did play it in Arizona there.
Arizona doesn't have much on the table.
No. Yeah, I agree. Like, probably Pitlick, I guess. Pitlick or Lyabushkin, but there's not much there. Anyways, enough of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your Bruins. And, okay, we got Bill T asking, why did they protect DeBrusk? But you really can't not.
I wouldn't have.
You wouldn't have, really?
I mean, Boston didn't have a lot of forwards that they had to worry about, really, because they have so many UFAs. Like, Krejci's a UFA, Hall's a UFA, so they didn't protect them. Corrali's a UFA. Kasha is an RFA. Richie is an RFA, so they didn't bother protecting them. Like, Boston, I mean, they didn't have that many forwards that they really had to protect, because they have so many guys who don't have contracts for next year.
Yeah, the only one, I guess, that, okay, well, obviously they don't think much of that Zach Senyshyn's going to be a player.
No, he's not.
He's not. No. It was a terrible pick when they made that pick. I was like,
yep.
What are you doing? And who else did I see? Didn't I see Nick Ritchie? That's it. That experiment's over. It's got to be Lauzon, though, right?
I 100% expect it's going to be Jeremy Lauzon. Some people are saying maybe Clifton, but Clifton's 26 and kind of is what he is like a number 7 guy. Lauzon, I think, has more upside to eventually be an everyday top 6 defenseman. So I'm expecting it to be Jeremy Lauzon from the Bruins.
Yeah, me too. That's who I had too. Is Lauzon. It's pretty much pops right out of the page at you. Yeah, Fleury did take a long time to develop, absolutely. Yeah, and he didn't, I don't know. I'm on the fence about Fleury. Okay, next we have Buffalo Sabres.
Buffalo, there's nothing here.
It's got to be Colin Miller, I think.
I guess. I mean, there's literally not like can Seattle just say no thank you to the Buffalo Sabres and not take anybody? I mean, this list is brutal for what Buffalo has available.
Yep. I think it's...
Yeah, I mean, Colin Miller is... I mean, you're obviously not taking Jeff Skinner's contract. I mean, Jake McCabe's probably the best player available, but he's a UFA, so you're not going to do that. Yeah, I mean, just by elimination, Colin Miller.
Yeah, it's just because I think he's a right defenseman.
He's a right shot defenseman, yeah.
That's about it. I agree. There's nothing else there that
All right, I need to stop picking defensemen here. Jesus.
Yeah. Calgary Flames. It's not getting much better here either. It's going to be another defenseman, but I'm going to flip him myself.
Giordano?
Yeah. I think you can flip him for value.
You probably could.
If you retain $2 million, for $4 million, I think you can flip him. Call Edmonton up. Frick, who knows?
Yeah, Edmonton could have like the best D pair of 2016 if they have Giordano and Keith together.
I would take Giordano over Keith. I think Giordano's got more legs than Keith does right now in his career. I mean, I would have did this deal for Giordano before I did the deal that they did for Keith.
Yeah.
Especially if they're going to retain $2 million, I'll give you a third and whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but as it stands, who knows? That's probably what I'm doing. Either that or Oliver Shillington never progressed as much as we thought we were.
No, Shillington didn't really turn into what he was supposed to.
Yeah, but that was in Calgary. He does have speed.
True.
And he's a fast skater. You never know. Give him a shot. But besides that, there's nothing here. Like nothing. Derek Ryan? Wow.
No.
30-some-year-old Derek Ryan?
He's a UFA.
Josh Olivo, maybe?
UFA.
He's a UFA too?
You could just wait till the 28th to sign these guys.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah, a lot of the Calgary's lists are UFAs or RFAs this year.
Yeah, that's about it. I would just take Giordano and try to flip him.
Unless you want Milan Lucic.
No. Definitely not. Okay, here's a strange one. Carolina Hurricanes. What the heck does Nino Niederreiter do to people? That guy has got to be the most annoying human being on the planet. He can put up points, he can have great analytics, and he gets booted out faster than Donald Trump at Cinco de Mayo, man. Holy crap. Like, what the heck is going on there?
I'm not taking Niederreiter, though.
You're not?
I'm taking Morgan Geekie.
Are you really over Bean?
Yep, 22-year-old center. Hasn't really made that jump yet, but you know what? Niederreiter is what he is and is extremely inconsistent. I would take the chance on Geekie, and if it doesn't work out, is it that big of a deal? I mean, you're looking at a 22-year-old kid that at least still has some upside potential. Niederreiter's 28, and I mean, he is what he is. He's a middle six winger. I'm taking Morgan Geekie. I'm going with the younger guy if I'm Ron Francis here.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would go Bean, but I've already picked forwards, and you haven't picked any forwards hardly. So, I would probably take.
Yeah, I need forwards at this point.
I would probably take Bean, but same thing. I'm like, if I'm Seattle, I'm not trying to win next year. So, I didn't know if you heard that going in. I'm not trying to win next year. You got 3 crazy drafts coming up right now. I want to have a lottery pick for all of them. That's it's true. I'm tanking. Sorry, but okay. Next one. That was weird. Like, I don't know. you call around and see if there's any market for Niederreiter out there, but I don't think there is. After there's just too many red flags.
No, he's not a highly sought after player at all.
Well, you're not going to get Evan. You can do that if you want, but I wouldn't. No way. I'm not getting the best squad possible because the best squad's not going to get you very far. If you look at what's available and you try to take all the best players available, you don't have a Vegas team here. Not even close. Not even close. And you don't need to do it. Wait till talk to me 4 years from now when Vegas is in the bottom of the league for a decade, and so you'll see what I mean. I think they're going to be in the bottom of the league for like a decade eventually.
Yeah, it's going to go downhill for Vegas very fast.
Yeah, as those players get older and hard, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, like Pietrangelo and Pacioretty and Riley Smith, and when those guys get older, it's going to go down. They have nothing in their farm system coming up. They have nothing as far as actual talent coming up. Fleury's probably on his way out. Leonard's only going to hold on for so long. I mean, when this older core is done, Vegas is going to be one of the worst teams.
And I have a feeling that they're not going to give up, and they're just going to be a free agent team forever. Just keep on adding free agents and be like a middle of the pack. I don't know. It's hard to say.
That will never work.
No, it never works.
That never ever works.
Yeah, and their only number one pick or top high pick they've had, they just traded for Patrick. That better work out. We didn't even talk about that.
They better hope that works.
We didn't even talk about that deal, did we? That was like the biggest deal, and we didn't even talk about it. Let's talk about it real quick right now. That Philadelphia crushing it, right? Ellis?
Yeah, Flyers just absolutely stole the show with that. Ryan Ellis, I think, is one of the most underrated defensemen in the league. He's played with Yossi, and he's kind of been overshadowed by Yossi, but Ellis is a legitimate top pair guy, and I think he drastically improves the Flyers defensively. That was a home run trade for the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what Nashville can do with Myers because they have a history.
They're good with defensemen.
Yeah, you never know. That's what scares me about the trade. But trading Vegas, getting Patrick, what do they know? Because I haven't seen anything out of Patrick that tells me that guy is going to be a player yet. But this is a team that did
take up Cody Glass.
Yeah.
Glass is in the same situation where you haven't seen anything out of him that makes him look like he's going to be anything. Yeah. So it's kind of a swap of young question marks.
They'll probably both end up being nothing, and then that'll be the end of it. But this is a team that did turn Chandler Stevenson into a pretty darn good center, so you never know.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. So what are we at?
Chicago,
yeah.
This sucks. There's not a lot out here. Zadorov, I guess.
I don't even like Zadorov. He hits, but that's about it.
He's
a terrible defensive defenseman. He has no offense whatsoever.
Actually, do you go for Adam Gaudette?
Yep, that's who I had.
Yeah, I might go Gaudette here. Going along the same lines as Morgan Geekie, kind of a young forward who hasn't panned out yet, but could.
Yeah.
I'm probably going Gaudette here.
Yeah, I like his offense. His defense is terrible, but if somebody can work on that for him, he knows how to get into the spots. He has a great shot. It's just he hasn't put it all together yet. And Chicago's now given up on that too. So that's kind of scares me, but there's not much to grab here unless you want to, again, it's one of those pick a guy and Calvin DeHaan and get a pick for him or something like that. Or I'm taking Gaudette. I agree with you. I'm taking Gaudette on that.
Yeah, I think Gaudette's got a good upside still, possibly.
Yeah.
Again, similar, like this is just by subtraction, a bunch of guys that I wouldn't want.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Okay, Colorado leaves a lot to choose from now.
All right, they'll actually get a good player from Colorado.
Yeah. Which good player are you looking at?
To me, it's between Comfer or Donskoy.
Yep. I agree.
I mean, I think it would be a win either way. Maybe Comfer's younger, so I guess I'll go Comfer.
Yeah, I'm going Comfer, and he's the center.
Yeah.
So, Donskoy's 29 years old, 4 years left on his contract. He's might be a 25 goal scorer at best. He's not a bad pickup, I suppose, but I'll take the young guy. I'll take the young Comfer.
Yeah, Comfer's 26, so.
Yeah, it's 3 years younger, more upside, and a better two-way player. So I'll take Comfer. We agree again. Next, Columbus Blue Jackets. Yeah, not much in this one either. I think there's only one guy to take here myself, but maybe not. Maybe you might take the other one, but who are you going?
Who I think they're going to take and who I would take might be different. I'm taking Kevin Stenlund.
I was on that side too, yeah.
Yeah, Max Domi's available, and I feel like they might try and take Domi, but he's been terrible for 2 years now, so I personally wouldn't be touching Max Domi at this point.
Me either.
Kevin Stenlund would be my pick. He's a 24-year-old right wing. Again, younger guy with some upside. Bigger guy too, got some goal scoring ability. I would rather have that than freaking Domi at $5.3 million.
There's no way I'm touching Domi, not a chance. The guy's been booted out of every single team he's on, like practically booted out. And now here's a team, Columbus, who's got a pretty smart general manager there, who needs offense and is just giving him away. Like, I'm not touching that guy at all. I like Stenlund, or depending on it depends on what you need for your mock, how many you have. I'll take Kukan or Stenlund, but either one of those would be fine. I like Stenlund too, though. I like the way he goes to the net. He's like he's like a 3-4. He's like what Sheahan was when he was younger, that kind of thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's not bad on the dot. Yeah, and he's younger. He's big. Yeah, I like him too. But there's not much there, and like I said, I'm not taking Domi. No way.
No.
Dallas Stars don't really leave us too much to choose from either. The Bishop is. I think he's almost done.
I would take Bishop if I knew where he was at health-wise. So I haven't heard on Bishop, publicly where he's at. Obviously, he was injured at the end of 2020 and didn't play in the playoff, or played that one game in the playoffs, but was hurt basically the entire postseason. Didn't play at all this past year. If Bishop is healthy and able to come back, I would take Bishop because he's only got a couple years left on his deal. And you need a goaltender, and I think there's going to be another guy that they're going to get as well that we're going to be talking about not too long from now that can very well be a tandem with a guy like Bishop. So for me, if I know that he is going to be able to play, I'm taking Ben Bishop with this pick.
Yeah, I am too if I know he's going to play.
I just don't know where Bishop's at as far as health. But if he can play next year, I'm taking Bishop here.
Yeah, but the thing is, am I going to know that? That's the thing. How can I know that? Like, but you get to talk to these guys too, don't you? Like, can you just? I guess they would have to let you talk to them and say, "Do you even want to come?"
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're talking to. I'm sure Ron Francis could talk to Jim Nill and kind of say, like, hey, where's he at? And I mean, I'm sure that among the GMs, there are guys that are friendly with each other and would probably not gonna really pull one over on you about that, because that will come back to bite you at some point. So I feel like Ron Francis probably has knowledge that we as the general public don't, as far as where guys are at and whatnot.
For sure. And if he does turn out to be good and he's going to be a good player, I'm going to ask him where kind of some places he'd like to go, because I'm not going to use him. I don't need I don't need an old goaltender that might get injured again. I don't need that. But there are a lot of players out there, a lot of teams out there that would love to have, like to roll the dice on Ben Bishop, for sure. It's hard to find number one goaltenders. And when he is healthy and good and everything, he can win a cup for somebody. Like, he's that kind of good, right? Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't be looking to keep him myself. I don't think he'd want to be kept, really. He'd want to go to a contender for sure. Okay, Detroit Red Wings. All that being said, if you didn't have that, I think I'd actually take a flyer. There's not much here. I would take maybe Fadoon or something like that. So apparently Shannon, the hockey guy, took Joel Esperance. I like Fadoon just because he can move the puck and stuff like that. He as a depth guy. But anyways.
Yeah, but I don't know. He's 33 now. So.
Yeah, it would just be a guy to fill in a roster spot. So would Esperance, really.
Yeah, true.
He's young. Esperance's younger.
The more I look at this Seattle team, like they're not gonna get a good. They're not gonna be a good team coming out of this draft.
No, they're not. They're not. Yeah, Detroit Red Wings now doesn't also leave all that much to be desired here.
Chalowski. That'd be my guy, Dennis Chalowski.
Yep, me too.
Yeah, that's my pick for Detroit. There's not much there. Nemesnikov seems like wasted talent. He's kind of been a problem everywhere he's went. He's never become the player that he was supposed to. I probably wouldn't go there. Chalowski.
Nemesnikov, he's just not. No. He's nothing but offense, and he's not that great offensively. And he's terrible. He's terrible defensively. He's like what Ryan Spooner would be if he didn't do coke. if Ryan Spooner didn't do coke, he'd be Nemesnikov. That's what it would be. What's that? Philip no way Boston's getting Grubauer. Not a chance in heck.
Too much. They don't need Grubauer.
No,
that'd be too big. That's too big of a deal.
Yeah, that would be a huge.
Grubauer's going to get a huge contract from somebody.
Yeah, I'm with you, Chalowski. Give him a shot. He's still young. I don't know what's going on with him. It was skating which was the problem, and it appears that it never stopped being a problem. And so you have to hope that you can do something with the skating, but there's really nothing else here. I don't want Nemesnikov. No, nothing. Okay,
no.
Let's move on. Oh gosh, my favorite, the Edmonton Oilers. Edmonton Oilers. Yeah, what do you got there? That grab bag.
I mean, they need somebody that can play in the NHL. I mean, I've got too many defensemen already. So you know what? I'm going Dominic Cahoon.
Yeah.
I'll take Dominic Cahoon from Edmonton. 26 years old, winger, might be able to put up 15 goals. I'll take it.
I'm gonna give Tyler Benson a shot. See if he can play.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's also. I mean, he's put up big numbers in the AHL.
Yeah, he put a point a game up last year. His skating has always been the problem, but you might as well give him a shot. He can pass he's a good passer from the half wall, stuff like that. But I'm hoping I can, they'll give me a first round pick or something to take James Neal off their hands. I'll do that, and just whatever, James, just go out there and play on the fourth line and play golf. Thanks for the first round pick. That's all he's done his whole career, right?
Yeah.
He's one of those natural guys that never really took care of himself very well, and it shows. And Calgary gives him $6 million for 6 years. Holy crap! Oh, Calgary!
In true Calgary form.
Yes, that's right. All right, Florida Panthers.
This is easy. Chris Driedger.
Chris Driedger is who
and
they already said that
he's gonna. Even though he's a UFA, I'm pretty sure that there's already pretty much the framework for a deal in place there. This has already been like 99% confirmed that Driedger is going to Seattle.
Tyson Barrie's a UFA. He doesn't have to sign there if he doesn't want to. So if they want Tyson Barrie, they can.
Barrie would not sign with Seattle, I don't think.
I don't know if they gave him enough money. I wouldn't sign him.
Anyone that gives you enough money, I'd play. But I don't think Barrie really wants to go to Seattle.
I don't know, but I'll tell you what. If he did go to Seattle, his almost a point a game numbers would not be there anymore. He'd get about maybe 30 points, 35 if you're lucky, playing for that team in Seattle. So, and still be terrible.
And he's not good in his own end either. So,
it's confirmed. What's confirmed, Evan? He's terrible in his own end. He's absolutely horrible in his own end. He's brutal. He's the reason Patrick Waugh quit on Colorado, because they wouldn't get rid of him. Like, that's pretty bad. Your coach quits because they won't get rid of you.
Waugh didn't like Duchesne either.
And Duchesne, wow. Yeah. I've heard it all over the place. He's whiny as all heck. Apparently Nashville's trying to give them their first this year. Give Seattle their first.
To get them to take him.
Yeah, and I don't think I do it. The more I think about it, I'm like, I'm building a team here. I do not want some whiny bugger in my room. Like, you're trying to build a culture there, right? Yeah. So, yeah, for sure it's Driedger. They've already got it all figured out and hammered out, like you said. Yeah. Los Angeles, we got to get going here.
Brendan Lemieux.
Yeah.
Brendan Lemieux, fourth line guy, some toughness on the team, and
he only plays.
He
only plays 5 minutes a night, and he must be out of shape, man.
No, he can. He's a regular fourth line wing. Not like there's much else here.
Is Athanasiou a free agent?
He's an RFA, but I'm not big on Athanasiou. Never have been.
Well, I'm not either, but out of what they got here, I might give him a shot again because of his speed. But there's nobody else here. Kale Clegg, never panned out.
It hasn't really panned out.
No, and it doesn't look like he's going to either. So, yeah, I'd be between the two. Or Carl Grundstrom, maybe. Again, guys that can't skate. Carl Grundstrom can't skate. Brendan Lemieux, I liked him, but I don't know what happened to him. I thought he was going to be way better than he was. Way better.
Yeah.
They protected Elias Anderson over those guys. That tells you something. Elias Anderson, if you get protected over if Elias Anderson's protected over you, there's something wrong with it. There's something wrong. Okay, Minnesota Wild.
Capo Kakkonen, goaltender.
Absolutely no doubt about it.
Absolutely him. I'm taking him. 24 years old, looked really good at points this past season. And again, especially if you're going to take Bishop and then try and flip him, then you've got Driedger and Kakkonen as your goaltending tandem for next year. I'm definitely taking Kakkonen here.
Yeah, I'm taking Kakkonen as well. Again, now, Bill, it's not till Rask comes back. It's somebody to play with Rask, because when Rask comes back, that's basically what you're saying, right? Swayman's going to go down into the minors, and then they'll use Vladar.
Swayman is not expected to be in the NHL next year. He's going to get a full AHL season to develop and make sure that they don't rush him. Swayman played very well in the games that he played last year. He played 10 games. That is almost nothing for a sample size. They're gonna let him develop at the proper pace. They're not gonna rush him to the NHL. Vladar is gonna be the backup, and they're gonna bring in a veteran guy on a 1 or 2 year deal, probably a 1 year deal, just to kind of hold the fort for a year. And then if they re-sign Rask and he comes back in February, then Vladar goes down.
Yep, that's pretty much how I see it now. I didn't see it that way before until I didn't know that they weren't going to play. I didn't know they weren't going to play Swayman up in the big leagues this year. So that changes everything. Use Bishop to trade for Eichel. I think you're talking about Seattle. Seattle won't have anywhere near enough to get. And Bishop doesn't have much value right now at all after being injured all year last year. So probably not going to be able to do that, no. Montreal Canadiens. I guess that's what's next. Montreal Canadiens. Yeah, that's going to be weird. I already said about Price and then doing that thing, but that was. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I have a feeling that Montreal is going to do something to try to, I don't know, do something here. But what do you think?
If I'm Seattle, I'm going Jonathan Drouin.
Really?
You need somebody on the roster. I mean, I don't have much for actual NHL talent on this roster here, so I'm going Drouin. He'll probably be a top line guy on this Seattle team that I'm making. So, you need somebody to put up some sort of points. You don't want to be getting blown out 7-1 every night. That'll be a good way to not have fans in the stands.
We're not even sure if Drouin's going to play next year yet. I don't know what's going on. I'd have to know a lot about what's going on with his life and all of that kind of stuff like that before I made a pick like that. But I have Brett Kulak. That was my pick.
Yeah, bottom pair D man.
Bottom pair D man, yeah. Nashville Predators, like I said, they talk about giving up a first for Duchesne to take Duchesne, or maybe do something to take Ryan Johansson's huge $8 million.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to have a deal in place to take either of those contracts.
Yeah.
If I'm just purely picking, like actually picking, I'm probably taking Calle Jarnkrok.
Yeah, I like Jarnkrok too.
Yeah, Jarnkrok would be my actual pick. I mean, if they're going to do a side deal to take Duchesne or Johansson and move those contracts around, then sure, do that. But if I'm just picking the team, I'm taking Jarnkrok from Nashville.
Now, what I liked about Jarnkrok is he signed that long $2 million a year deal. So I thought that was pretty cool to do something like that. But the thing is I'm surprised that a guy that did that, you're going to just let go. Like, this guy has been loyal as heck for this guy. So I see a guy with a lot of loyalty, and if I pick him, I'll, that I kind of want that attitude in my lineup. So I like Calle Jarnkrok there too. If I'm not going to make a deal, like you said, but I think they will make a deal. New Jersey Devils, there's only one guy I see here that I have any interest in, really.
For me, I would be looking at Nathan Bastian.
Me too.
Fourth line right wing. I mean, if you have Bastian on the right side and Lemieux on the left side, hey, that's a fourth line that at least is going to put some fans in the stands, because they'll be running guys through the boards all night. So Nathan Bastian stands out to me as the guy that I would take from the Devils.
Me too. That's exactly who I was going to pick as well. I don't see any other reason. I don't see any reason to take Ryan Murray or, he's the guy. At least he's big. He hits. Yeah, I'll take him. New York Islanders. This one could take a bit. This is a weird one.
Well, this was the one that they have two distinct directions you could go in. If you're just purely taking a player, I'm taking Jordan Eberle. But if you want to start working some side deals in, then again you look at maybe like a younger, like a Bellows or a Koivula, and then you do a side deal and get a pick involved and do something like that. But if I'm just purely taking a player, Jordan Eberle, I mean, $5.5 million for a top line right wing, I'm good with that. Also, yeah, all right, my team is going to hit the cap floor, so that's good. I think Eberle's the best player available from the Islanders.
Yeah, I would say Josh Bailey was, but he's really dipped the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So I'm probably going to, like I said, I'm going to hold out as long as I can and basically say I'm taking Dal Cole until you give me a pick for Eberle. You give me a pick for Eberle and then I'll do it, like even a third or a fourth or something. Because I know I'm taking $5.5 million. You're going to go out there and use that $5.5 million to get whoever, a much better winger than Eberle in this flat cap world. So I'm not doing you a favor. I don't need to be good next year. I just got to hit a cap floor, and there's lots of ways to do that. So,
yeah.
But I wouldn't. The only reason why I would take Bailey is I like, almost like we said about Yarncroc, is his loyalty has been fantastic for the Islanders. Like, he's stuck with that team all the way through the arena things and all the stuff that went on there. And, so maybe for that reason. But besides that, I think for value, if I want to take Eberle, I can retain $1.5 million and I might be able to pull a second, where I don't think I can do that with Bailey. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Unless he absolutely crushes it.
Trade market wise, I think Eberle would definitely be the higher value player.
Yeah. Okay. Next one.
Rangers. Julian Gauthier.
Yeah. I was thinking Blackwell was the guy I had, but.
Yeah, but Gauthier's 5 years younger, so the Rangers don't have much exposed.
No, there's not much to take there.
There's not much to pick from with the Rangers.
I personally would probably go Blackwell. I just really like Gauthier's so slow. He's so slow. I've got enough slow guys in my lineup, but I think I would go Blackwell. He looks like a late bloomer that could possibly be a 30-point guy or something like that. Yeah, he could be an absolute bust too. But like you said, you got nothing. Like, there's nothing to choose out of this group at all. Yeah. So Kincaid.
No.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Ottawa Senators.
Chris Tierney.
Yeah, that's exactly who I had.
Yeah, Tierney would be my guy from Ottawa, I think. And I need centers. I don't have almost anyone that's a center. So Tierney is actually a really solid third line center. He's just been in Ottawa for the past few years. But I would go Tierney as my pick from them.
Me too. That's all they really had to take, really, unless Forsberg or Hogberg, and Hogberg is just trash last year. Okay, Philadelphia Flyers.
This is an interesting one. I mean, well, there's talks about a Voracek deal being possible, where if they take Voracek and then end up trading him, that could happen. So if you have a side deal in place with Voracek involved, obviously that's who they're going to take if they can get some sort of deal worked there. If I'm just purely taking somebody, though, maybe Bunnaman.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
I think. Yeah.
I would honestly, I would take Voracek, and even if they kept him, I would take Voracek.
Now, I think I would take Gosh Despear. The way he played the second half last year, I'd give it a shot if I actually had to take a pick. I'm not, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that I just don't want to take those contracts, the $7 and $8 million. You're giving me a pick, no doubt about it. And if you don't want to, too bad, keep it. I don't care. You're not going to get rid of those contracts. You're not going to get rid of Van Riemsdyk, I did a video actually talking about this, and I called Van Riemsdyk Van Beesbrook twice. But yeah, you're giving me a pick or nothing, and I may take Gosh to Spear if I have a good talk with Hackstall and he thinks he's coming out of whatever he was coming out of. Otherwise, who cares, really? Yeah, sure, Bunneman. What the heck? Doesn't matter. You're just taking a depth. You're taking a depth guy, anyways.
Yeah, no. I'll take Voracek.
You're gonna take Voracek?
I'll take Voracek, and I think there's gonna be a deal in place there. I think that we're gonna see that happen.
For sure, I think so too. There's gonna be a deal in place. Like that cap space is so valuable to Philadelphia, and they have to win now after what they did. You fire Hextall because you're too impatient, and whatever. Like you've got to win now. There's no choice.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I agree with you there for sure. Penguins.
Jeez, there's just, I mean, Zucker's available, but if you're going young, there's really no point in that.
No. He doesn't provide much.
There's not much there from
Zucker needs to play with somebody that can get him the puck, and if he's not, he's useless. He's absolutely useless. So
Anthony Angelo maybe is a depth center.
I was thinking Brandon Tanev just for the cheerleader type guy that he is.
Yeah, that'd be a big loss for Pittsburgh. I just think a guy like Tanev is more valuable on a team like Pittsburgh than he would be on Seattle.
Well, that's the whole point, is that come trade deadline, a guy might give you something for Tanev.
Well, that's true. He has a lot of years left on his contract, though.
Yeah, it's a big contract.
He's got 4 years left on his deal.
Yeah, if that's the case, then maybe nobody will want his contract, so maybe he isn't the guy you want to pick. It's
yeah, I don't know. Pittsburgh's not offering a ton here, unless you do go the veteran route with Zucker, but if you're not going to be competitive right away, then there's not much point in Jason Zucker, unless you actually probably could trade him at the deadline.
Maybe, but I mean, his numbers are not going to look good playing on a team like Seattle because there's not much to play with, and he's not a guy that can run a line by himself by any stretch. He's a support player at best. So it is.
Tanev might be the guy there. At least he's going to be an energy guy who can play on your third line.
Yeah, I think that's the only guy I would see there that I would take, unless you just want to take a cheap player that you don't care about, like with Ruhwedel. Maybe Marcus Peterson on D there. He wouldn't be a bad player, I guess. He's young. He's more on the young side.
His contract's tough, though.
Is it? I didn't even look at it.
Over $4 million for a bottom pair defenseman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, never mind. Next, Tanev it is.
Yeah, Tanev, whatever.
San Jose Sharks.
Oh, boy. God, this team is in brutal condition.
Yeah.
Gambrell, probably.
Yep, that's exactly
I think Dylan Gambrell would be my pick there.
Yep. I like Dylan Gambrell. I like what he brings to the table. We got, so if we take Lemieux, who was it? Lemieux, Bastian, and
Gambrell. There's a fourth line right there.
Yeah.
I would enjoy watching that fourth line.
Yeah. You're not going to come into our barn and push us around, that's for sure.
That's
at the very least. We may not win many games.
You got to put people in the seats.
We may not win many games, but you're going to be black and blue when you walk out of that arena. No doubt about that.
That's a fun fourth line right there.
Just imagine the yapping and everything that would go on there, man. That'd be I like that. I like that fourth line. It's going to be the best part of the team.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got St. Louis Blues.
Well, if the reports are true, they're going to be taking Tarasenko and working him in a deal.
Yeah.
So the Tarasenko would be the pick there. If I'm actually having to pick a player, I'd probably take Vince Dunn here.
Probably. I'm really scared about that, though.
I think Dunn would be the guy that I'd take there.
There seems to be some serious attitude problems going on there with Dunn. But
well, I'd want to see I'd like to see him in a different situation. I don't think he's happy with. I feel like he feels he's been buried in St. Louis, and I'd like if he went to Seattle. I mean, he's playing top 4, no question about it. So that would be like, here you go, kid. Here's your chance. Like, go out there and prove it. And I'd like to see him in that situation.
Yeah, if not that, why don't we just keep on taking guys that make Sammy Blais. Sammy Blais, we'll have.
I already have enough right wings, I think.
We'll have the highest hit totals in this.
I think there's going to be a deal done involving Tarasenko, so that's who they're going to end up taking. But if I was actually picking a team for guys to keep, then Vince Dunn, I guess, and I mean he would be a top 4 guy with Seattle.
Probably, yeah. Okay, this is a tough one, and we're getting close to the end here, but this is a tough one. Tampa Bay, it could go many different ways here.
There's so much to choose from.
They did the 4 and 4. 8 skaters, so they could keep. There's so much to choose from, and there's so many ways that you can do it that you might be able to get more cap space. Like even Cal Foote. I mean, Cal Foote's a young guy.
Cal Foote's somebody that I would strongly consider if I was going defense. 22-year-old right shot D-man. I mean, If you're not trying to win now, I think Cal Foote would be the move here. If you're looking down the line 3-4 years, Cal Foote's the move here. If you're looking for value now, I'd probably be taking Yanni Gourde.
Yeah, Gourde, because he's a center for sure. I think what I do is I tell them I'm going with Cal Foote, and I'm pretty sure they'll scramble and go, okay, I'll tell you what, we'll get, I think there's going to be a deal here somewhere.
Yeah,
there's gonna be a deal here on top of it. If Francis is a smart guy, I'd be going Cal Foote until they work out a deal for me to take that cap space off them. You can't just go 4 and 4 and throw all these players at me and think I'm just gonna help you with cap space. No, I'm not gonna do it. It's the only leverage I have, so you're gonna have to do better than that. And it's a big leverage. Cap space is a huge leverage. So. Toronto Maple Leafs. It's either try to go quicker because we're almost at 3. McCann or Kerfoot, right?
Yeah, I'm probably taking McCann.
Apparently, Seattle loves Kerfoot for some reason. I don't know why.
It's gonna be one of those two. My pick personally would be McCann. I think he's a really good utility guy in the middle. He can play center or wing, and he can play on the second or third line.
Yeah, me too.
I like McCann a lot. I think the past couple years in Pittsburgh, he looked pretty darn good.
Yeah, me too. I'm surprised they let him. I don't know what they were doing.
Yeah, they just traded for him and then just left him exposed, which I don't really understand. But
I don't really understand. I think they traded for him because they knew they were probably going to lose Kerfoot, so he'll replace Kerfoot. I don't understand why Pittsburgh let him go.
Yeah,
what does that roster needs?
Well, I don't think Pittsburgh was going to be able to protect him. That's why.
But I'd have to go back and look at it. I can't imagine that they couldn't have.
Because Pittsburgh's protection list was full, and they left Zucker off it. They left Tanev off it. Yeah, I mean Pittsburgh had some NHL guys that they were not able to protect. Aston Reese isn't protected, so I just don't think Pittsburgh was going to be able to protect McCann.
Yeah, so they got something for him, I guess.
Yeah.
So, okay, Vancouver, not much there.
Well, I don't have enough defensemen, so I'm going to have to take a D-man probably. There's really not much in Vancouver. Wow, there's nothing as far as defensemen go.
Brogan Rafferty, maybe?
Yeah. No, he's 26. Jesus. No, I guess I can't go. I can't go in that direction. God, there's not much to pick from in Vancouver.
Zach McEwen.
a project, maybe Cole Lind.
Yeah.
But I mean, at least McEwen can come in and be a fourth line extra forward type.
Do you have all your goaltenders yet? Take Holtby.
Yeah, I have 3 goalies already, so that's why. I mean, Holtby, I do think for Seattle could possibly be a move, but I just with these picks, I already have 3 goalies, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there's not much.
Not much. No. Washington, you got to go Dillon, right?
Brendan Dillon, yeah, and I need a defenseman anyway, so Brendan Dillon would be my guy from Washington.
And funny that Daniel Sprong finally found a home. They protected him. Good for them because he had a good year last year. And to me, Winnipeg is easy. It's Appleton all day. I'm taking Mason Appleton all day. I love that guy.
Yeah, well, I can't because I still need another defenseman.
You're going to take Dylan DeMello.
I'm taking Dylan DeMello, yep.
Yeah.
I'm taking Dylan DeMello from Winnipeg, and that fills out my roster.
That fills out my roster, and my roster, I think, looks something like Athens. Oh, gosh, it looks terrible.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
I worked a deal with Johnson. I had Athanasiou, Johnson, Eberle, Volkov, Duchesne, Kerfoot, Tanev, Comfer, Blackwood, or Appleton, and then Gambrell, Gambrell, Colton. I worked out a deal where I got Colton. I took Johnson, Colton, and a first. Something like that. And then it was Giordano, Kukan, Dillon, Dunn, Gosh, Despear, Lazan, Cholowski, and Kulak.
All right, so my team down, I wish this was sorted by position. Down the middle, I have, let's see, Jared McCann, who can be a wing or a center, JT Compher, Chris Tierney, Dylan Gambrell, Adam Gaudette, Morgan Geekie. As far as left wings go, I've got Jonathan Drouin, Callie Yarncroke, Brendan Lemieux, Dominic Cahoon. On the right side, I've got Voracek, Eberle, Tanev, Stenlin, Fisher, Bastian.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Bastian.
Let's see. Left shot defenseman, I have Mark Giordano, Brendan Dillon, Dennis Cholowski. Right shot defenseman, we've got Colin Miller, Dylan DeMello, and Cal Foote. And then guys that can play either side, Hayden Fleury, Jeremy Lauzon, or Vince Dunn. That's actually not a bad young defense there. Like, I don't mind that D-core.
No, I didn't mind the defense.
The forward group is not very good, but the D-core isn't terrible. Goaltenders, I've got Bishop, Kakinen, and Drieger. And Bishop, I would probably try and trade.
Me too. Okay, we're all, like usual, we're almost always on the same page. So that was fun. So tomorrow, it'll be evening time for me. We'll be doing an evening show from 5:30 to 7:30, and we're running along, and I got to go pick up my car. I've got an alternator done, so I got to head out and do that. Thanks for coming on, John. That was nice to have you again now that the playoffs are over. Hopefully we can do some more of these.
Absolutely.
Maybe we can do some videos together like we used to. Good old times. Last year times. That would be fun. See everybody. Well, remember, Steel Flyers All Sports Network, man. It's the best. There, I said it. Have a great day. Okay, bye. All right, I got to cruise.